We're almost there. 259.
I have legal publications available for order.
Alright, looks like we have 3 o'clock. I'll call the meeting to order. Can everyone stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. First up is to approve the agenda for today.
So moved.
We have a motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carried unanimous. Next, and the only thing we're really here for is the approval of resolution 12/31/2401 to allocate ARPA funds, so I will let Tammy explain some of that.
On December 17th, we got an email from ISAC, and maybe NACO was part of it too, letting us know that funds had to be allocated for ARPA funds, which we already knew. All of ours were allocated by resolution. In their follow-up, they advised that that's fine for those funds that we've already spent, but for those funds that haven't been spent, it needs to be done by contract or memo of understanding, which kind of threw us all for a loop because none of us had heard that before. Which is fine, they sent a copy of a memo of understanding, a sample one, so I started looking through those ones that are under resolution but hadn't spent the funds yet. And one of them is the liaison position, which I think is due this next year. So we got a memo of understanding with the city of Algona. And then on looking through some of them, I called Carissa with emergency management, Phil from EMS, because part of their funds hadn't been spent yet. Asked them if we could get a memo of understanding, and after talking to them, sounded like those funds will not be used for what they had originally asked for. So, in order to allocate those funds and not have to give them back, they have to be reallocated. So that's the purpose of the resolution. Kyle had talked to Phil. Phil has already talked to you guys about ambulance purchase for 2025 ambulance for 2026, is that correct?
I think so, yep.
So those funds could be allocated up to $200,000 for that ambulance, and then that will cover any remaining funds we have in those funds that those departments did not.
How much
use the money for.
remaining total do we have?
It's a little over 200,000, but with that 70,000, and then there was a couple
So-
other things.
A little over $250,000,
Yeah.
if I remember right.
That's not
So-
obligated, or that's not a
That's
memo
not
hasn't
of,
been-
spent, not
yeah,
spent yet.
or,
Yeah, well, 70 of it does have a memo of understanding.
with the liaison and,
Yeah.
okay.
And then, Carissa, has a memo of understanding for
Yeah,
the
we
rest of
just
the
got that
building.
today.
Mhm. But the rest of it,
And, well, so there's kind of 3 pieces that the rest of the money falls into. There was money allocated for staff for EMS with the city of Algona. And since we transitioned that service to the county earlier than it was anticipated at the time we did that ARPA fund designation, they didn't actually receive all of those ARPA funds. So that's also where we're kind of taking money from that was planned for EMS and rolling it back to EMS in that category. There's also,
that's like 65,000 for that.
yep, and there's also 55,000 that was planned for selling the red trailer and purchasing a new one, which is actually owned by Kossuth County EMS. It was turned in as a project by emergency management for ARPA, but emergency management doesn't own that trailer, it's owned by EMS. So that can kind of get rolled into the ambulance as well, because they have no plans on replacing that trailer. They're actually talking about just getting rid of it entirely. So there's two big,
Yards being auctioned right now on landfill.
You have deals or?
okay, so those are the two big pieces, and then there's some odds and ends of pluses and minuses of different projects that have gone a little above or a little below what they were anticipated for. So that's where most of the funds come in, and we
I
just,
put a spreadsheet in your packets,
Okay.
the ARPA spreadsheet, so you could see.
and
I didn't even
Instead
see
of-
that.
Yeah, it's in one of the folders.
Okay,
and instead of having the potential of having anything be short or close, we kinda rounded up where the, resolution says up to 200,000, there won't probably be that much for the ambulance purchase, but if we have it allocated and designated, then it covers us for the ARPA.
Then if
side of
other
things.
projects go under, we
Mhm.
don't have to worry about being under and
And
having to
sending-
pay some
sending
of
giving
it
the money
back.
back, yeah,
Yep,
yeah.
so. Any questions on the long and short of that?
So today we are,
Today would be approving this resolution, which then, and Tammy talked to Todd about it, but these memo of understandings that,
and there's a
She's
list of
talking
those
about-
in there, or memo of understanding?
no, so. If we have, Todd said if we have a resolution that the board voted on to allocate the funds, then as the chair, I could sign the memo of understanding because the board had already acted on it.
Okay, I see,
So, we will follow up with the memo of understanding after the resolution.
I see,
But the resolution will match all the rest of the standard process that we've
Okay.
done for the rest. And then the memo of understanding is additional paperwork because it's not spent yet
Yep.
to cover our federal requirements, basically.
Could the resolution be read? So we
Yeah,
so we know what it.
Yep. So this is resolution 12/31/2401, a resolution to approve disbursement of funds for the American Rescue Plan Act. Whereas on March 11th, 2021, President Biden signed the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan Act, and Kossuth County applied for and has received the first tranche of funds for the act totaling 1.4 million, and then the second tranche was also received totaling the same 1.4 million. Kossuth County has reviewed and determined which requests for the American Rescue Plan Act will qualify, and based on the distribution guidelines from the US Department of Treasury, the following recommendations will be considered for American Rescue Plan funds. And this is the meat and potatoes of the resolution, but what's listed is a new ambulance purchase up to $200,000. Whereas all items listed will be submitted to the Department of Treasury, and the Board of Supervisors endorses the disbursement of American Rescue Plan Act funds for the items listed and authorizes the auditor to make these payments as they are presented once an amendment for the funds has been completed and passed and dated today, so. Any questions on that?
So the only thing in there is for the
ambulance,
ambulance?
Ambulance, yep, correct, with up to $200,000, yep.
And that's because the other stuff was already spoken for, basically.
Yeah,
Well, it's because we have to reallocate those funds that were spoken for to a correct thing, because they're not gonna be
Because they're not
used.
used.
cause they're
Yes.
not gonna be used, yep,
Okay, got it.
so.
okay, thanks for the explanation.
Any other questions from anyone?
Oh, what the hell? So this is basically money from the federal government under this thing is gonna buy this ambulance, so 5 years from now or 10 years from now, whenever you're buying the next ambulance, things are set up that the money will be there for that through the ambulance service, or that's a pipe dream, or that's a.
No, so the ambulance purchase was already planned for and approved and budgeted, well, we'll be working on the budget as we
Next
get
year.
into the new year here, but it's already been planned
Next
for
year's
on
plan.
the long-term plan, so yeah, the funds for ongoing stuff is there. This is basically just one of those things that these dollars can qualify for, that
So what
fits the
will-
package, so this is basically just,
So what will happen, if, maybe I misunderstood you, but what will happen to the $200,000 that were already there for it?
they'll stay in the fund for EMS to be used for the ambulance service.
At their
There, but
discretion?
Well, the board of supervisors oversees that budget directly, so, I mean, we have an advisory council, but yeah, it's the board of supervisors' ultimate decision on that budget.
So they got a big head start on their next ambulance, is that what it amounts to, or whatever?
It could be used for whatever purpose is deemed necessary, but it does stay in that fund specific for E EMS.
Should just be a fund balance.
so it's not in the general basic fund?
It is in the general
This
basic
stuff
fund.
is right now, but, the money that was planned for this ambulance purchase, which is already, we already have the contract signed for, the
But that's
dollars that
under
were
the
planned for
EMS
that.
levy,
EMS
that's
levy.
under the EMS
You're talking
levy,
about
that's a
the
different
EMS
fund.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, the dollars that are planned for this prior to this resolution are in the EMS fund and
They
are
will
coming
stay there.
in through that levy, so those dollars, instead of buying the ambulance, they'll, cause the total cost is what, 350?
291,
300.
856.
Okay, so instead of spending that all out of dollars coming from the levy, we'll use whatever we can from ARPA first, and whatever we save, by spending ARPA funds on it will just stay to benefit EMS and the citizens that use the service, so. Yeah. So no, it shouldn't be a long-term issue of, we don't have funds for this down the road, but. Good question.
Yeah, because if they have more money that was budgeted for that they actually need for an ambulance, couldn't that be put in a restricted, part of the fund, so it's kinda like a savings account for an ambulance down the road?
Yeah,
Since
and,
that's what it was originally budgeted for, something like that?
yeah. So.
Okay.
Alright, if there isn't any more questions or comments, I would entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion to approve resolution 12/31/24/01 to allocate the ARPA funds for EMS.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Roll call, or any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Plath,
Yes.
Wactor,
Yes.
Nath,
Yes.
Stecker,
Yes, motion carried unanimous. Alright, and then just a quick update. Yeah, let's do that.
We gotta sign that.
I signed on the right side. I don't know why I questioned myself right at the end. Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Yep. And then just quick update for board discussion, we did go through 2 interviews for the planning and zoning, sanitary and weed commissioner position. It appears for a couple of reasons, we'll probably need to have, the whole board involved in interviews for that, so we can make a decision. So, probably we'll need to communicate schedules and see what you guys have for availability for doing some of that going into the, new calendar year here. But, we can offer the ability for closed session if the individual requests it, based on conversation with Todd, so that is an option as well, but just wanted to give everyone a quick update on that, so.
You would do an interview recorded,
Closed session would be
but
recorded
if they
otherwise.
don't, if they don't,
If they don't, then yeah, it would be open session.
I don't know how that's gonna go.
Well, they would have the right to request closed session, that's the simple option.
Do you guys have the right to request closed session?
Not for this.
Not for, no, and we wouldn't be the ones.
Which
entering.
one would they be using out of the code, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, what? Cause they're not necessarily an employee that can
No,
request
but their
closed session.
hiring would be considered,
Okay,
Yeah, it'd be under some, for hiring, firing.
it would be,
performance review,
it would be
and
the same as
thing.
performance reviews, but hiring is listed there, yep. Because we'd be evaluating their professional competency, and it does say, hiring specifically is listed there.
21C, isn't it?
21.51
C, is it C?
I,
Oh, it's I,
it's I, C is litigation,
Oh, yeah.
yep.
well, they're gonna know about that ahead of time, correct?
Yeah, yep, we'll need to communicate with
Because
them and,
maybe employers
schedule
don't
it.
know that they're applying, I mean, you know what I mean, that's,
Yeah, that would be
yeah,
my thought too.
yeah, no, we will definitely need to, we're not just gonna post an agenda with their name on it.
all right, but I
Yeah.
mean, just so they know ahead of time, because
Yep,
it doesn't really seem fair to them.
So, yeah, just wanted to give a quick update and we'll probably need to be in communication to get that scheduled and check availability, so.
And
Just so that's on everyone's radar.
And just for, for all of you or public record or whatever, I'm gonna abstain from any discussion or decisions relating to that position since I'm related to one of the applicants, so, and I didn't know that was gonna happen when we originally had those conversations.
So. Alright, anything else anyone has for quick discussion or updates or? Alright, if not, thank you all for coming in and I'd entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Alright, any discussion?
See y'all next year.
Yeah, happy new year everyone.
Happy New Year.
All those in favor say aye.
Alright.
Any opposed, say nay. Motion carried unanimous. We're adjourned.
I have to look at the packet yet, I just looked at the agenda.
Perfect.
Alrighty.
Alright. I don't think.
Thanks, Josh.
We'll see ya.
See ya, Jack. See ya, Josh.
Happy New Year.